Hello everybody, my name is Dee and welcome to Books and Quirks. Today I'm going to be talking about two books that I recently finished and I wanted to do a review on. If this goes a little bit long, I will put the timestamps in the description below if you wanted to skip over to the other review so that you don't have to watch the whole thing if you don't want to. Okay, so the first book that I want to talk about is The Traitors Blade by Sebastian de Castell. And this book has been likened many times online to the Three Musketeers I saw before reading this book. And I could see that a little bit when reading this. Because it is about three kind of swashbucklers. And I do have some notes written on this, so if you see me looking down at any point, it's just some bullet points that I want to make sure I get across when talking about this book. So this book follows the Greatcoats. The Greatcoats were once a very talented, elite group of swordsmen and fighters who were very loyal to the king. And when this book starts, the king is now dead. The Greatcoats are looked down upon and sort of disgraced, and their coats are even in tatters. When the king died, they were sort of all disbanded, and we follow three main characters. We follow Falcio, I should say. Falcio is the cantor of the Greatcoats, or he was the cantor of the Greatcoats. Kest, who is the greatest swordsman in the land, and Brasti, who is an exceptional with arrows, I guess you could say, and spears. These three men have stayed together. They're great friends, and they are like the Three Musketeers. And they have remained together, and they are determined to carry out the last wish of the king. They each were given sort of a final order by the king, and they want to fulfill that. And they also want to reunite the Greatcoats. They don't know where the other Greatcoats are. Once they were disbanded, they all sort of lost touch with each other. And yeah, so that's what they want to, that's sort of what their goal in the end. So Falcio, Kest, and Brasti constantly are facing obstacles in this book. This book is action-packed. I mean, there's always action going on, and it makes it so exciting and makes it so easy and fast to read. And they always have assassins on their tail around every corner. They eventually travel and end up in like the most corrupt city in the land. And they also, Falcio is also determined to sort of save this young girl. Her family was murdered, and she shares the name of his former wife. I mean, there's a whole saga going on there between his, what happened in his past. If you sort of hear my cats in the background, they're playing. There is also magic in this world, but the magic is very subtle, and I really liked that. So, really the pros of this book is that it's action-packed, and I loved sort of the friendship and loyalty of these three men, and what they have to go through and how much they really kind of, care for each other. And although this doesn't have great world building, you do get a good sense, or at least I thought, you get a good sense of the world through the plot, through the action as it goes on. I got more of a sense of the world, of this world that Sebastian created. So the only con I could think of with this book is it took me a while to get into. When this book starts, there are flashbacks to these three men when the king was still alive, and then it goes back to the present. But in the beginning, it does it sort of in a way that it felt choppy, and when the flashback would come, it would be mid-chapter, and I didn't realize at first that it was a flashback. So I spent the first 50 pages a little bit confused and not sure what was going on. But once I got past that, I was just hooked and I couldn't stop. And I gave this book 4 stars just because of the fact that of the beginning confusion. But I loved this. Oh my God, such a good book. I'm sure the other 2 books in the trilogy are just as good. I cannot wait to read the second book. Hopefully I'll buddy read it. But yes, I cannot wait to get to the second book, and this was such a good one. I highly recommend it. The next book that I want to talk about is The Fireman by Joe Hill. This is another author that I cannot believe it took me so long to pick up this book. So this is the first Joe Hill book that I'm reading. His father is Stephen King, and I just mentioned that because the writing is so similar to his father. You can see how his father, sort of influenced him, and it was like reading a Stephen King book. I loved it so much. I cannot speak highly enough of this book if you like sort of the horror genre. Now, I want to say that this is not really a horror book, even though it's put in that sort of broad genre. This is more like just a weird post-apocalyptic type novel. And it's sort of it sort of reminded me a little bit of The Stand by Stephen King, but it's very different plot. Only the disease reminded me of The Stand. So in the beginning of this book, the world is sort of in chaos. There is a plague going around the world. It is a very contagious illness, contagious disease, where if you contract this plague, you get sort of black and gold lines all over your body. They're supposed to be very beautiful, sort of like tattoos, but it is fatal as far as we know, because nobody has survived. Because eventually what happens to you is you start to smoke, like smoke comes out of your body, and you spontaneously combust. So as you can imagine, there's chaos. Everyone is afraid of contracting this illness. It's, the hospitals are overcrowded and overcome with patients, and those that treat the patients have to wear sort of like hazmat suits. There's even like mass genocides going on where, the government is sort of rounding them up and, killing them so that they can't infect anybody else. Nobody knows really how the disease is spread. As far as they know, if you come in contact with it, you have a very good chance of getting it. And the main character of this book is Harper. Harper is a nurse working in a hospital. She's treating these patients, and she is very compassionate. She cares a lot about her patients, and she soon realizes that she is pregnant, and soon thereafter she learns that she has this disease. And I should mention that the disease is called dragon scale because of the scale-like lines that come on your body. So the whole book is about Harper trying to sort of stay alive in this crazy, chaotic world without being killed, and stay alive long enough for her baby to be born, and to find out if there's a way to not die from this disease. So, because, most people spontaneously combust within a couple of months of getting it. So, as the book goes on, you meet a cast of characters, and I thought the pacing was very good. I thought it explained everything very well. Joe Hill is really a talented writer, apart from his father. I guess it's in the genes. But yeah, the pacing was very good. The plot was excellent. I thought the writing was excellent, and I highly recommend this book. If you like Stephen King, you will definitely like this book. And if you like, sort of I hate to say horror genre because it's not really a horror book. It's sort of a weird book, and it deals with a society that has fallen apart, and, all of the people that have dragon scale trying to figure out a way to survive. And in order to survive, you have to sort of hide out because you are being hunted by the government. I really enjoyed so many aspects of this book. Also, like I said, as you meet more and more characters throughout the book, you have to follow multiple storylines, and I really enjoyed that. It wasn't hard for me to keep track of who was who. And Harper is sort of the constant in this book. And also there is a mysterious fireman that shows up in the beginning of the book, and whenever there's chaos going on, he seems to be there in the background in his yellow coat. And yeah, you eventually find out more about him, but in the beginning of the book you don't know much. And that's really all I can tell you without spoiling it. I really thought this book was excellent, really enjoyed it, and I hope you give it a try too. So that is it. Those are my reviews and my thoughts on the Traitors Blade as well as the Fireman. Two excellent books in my in my humble opinion. If you've read these books, let me know. Let me know what you thought. If you agree with me, even if you disagree with me, I like to hear other opinions. Not all of us enjoy the same things, but but if you do give this book a try, I would love to know your thoughts once you finish it as well. Yeah, excellent, excellent books. And I will see you all very, very soon. Bye.